Welcome. I was doing some thinking about Bran and um, obviously just kind of from writing the Bran chapter, but also like thinking back to Game of Thrones and whether or not Bran as king makes sense. Now, obviously, like in a world where Bran has time travel abilities and telepathic abilities to control people's minds and things like that, all of that he can manipulate anybody he wants and shift time around and make things um, pretty crazy to put himself on the throne. But that's the book. So in a sense, it makes sense in the book that Bran can do whatever he wants because he's gonna keep time traveling and manipulating people's minds with dreams or whatever in order to get himself there. That's completely possible. But going back to the show, I was trying to think of like any real reason why, um, and coming up with reasons why Bran would be on the throne, right? Because like this is a world where, and relating to that, like if the book were like the show, like things going against Bran. So like obviously like there's no succession reason why Bran would be on the Iron Throne. Like there's no reason that the Starks would would be on the Iron Throne. I mean, you could kind of argue, okay, in this R plus L equals J sort of sense, like John, you could say, oh, John is on the throne and then he dies, and who's his closest relative? Well, his closest relative is Bran, and so he would somehow succeed him. Um, it's a bit of a stretch, but considering that there's other people around. But I suppose one could make that argument that if John were considered the legitimate ruler by the entire realm, that Bran being his half brother would might be the next in the line to succeed him. Um, that might work. Religion wise, it's a little weird that because he's not of the faith of the seven. So they would have to kind of be cool with him. I mean, I suppose maybe he could push that he was raised um, with because of Catelyn, he was raised in the faith of the seven as well, and so he's like the unity candidate. Like I worship both the seven gods and the North or something like that. Popularity, like in a sense, like could he be like loved by the people? So far in the story, people really seem to be against people that are disabled. So he is crippled, and that seems to be a big thing against him. Um, Also, he's going to be way too young in the book, way too young, and so there seems to be like, he would have to have a regent, right? Um, so like in a sense, like it's just Tyrion going to be his regent, but then everybody hates Tyrion too, so it's kind of weird that in that sense. So maybe he'd be king with a regent above him, and then he has no experience ruling. He can't really travel. He's not really well known. Like everybody'd be like, "Who's this kid? Like, why would you all of a sudden want like this kid and everything?" But I suppose if you could like somehow push the fact that like maybe all of the different parties are even, and no one wants to put a Dornish candidate forward or a Tyrell or a Lannister, and they're like, okay, who is the least disagreeable person? And they're like, oh, well, Bran is the least disagreeable, and he's going to die anyway, or something, or you know. But then again, it all has to do with his hand. That's the weirdest thing, is that he would need a regent. So we're not even like choosing Bran in that sense. He's not even in control at book's end. Um, Dragon Demands is like, did it honestly never occur to D&D that within the same finale they hype up the Iron Throne as the institution is destroyed, but then simultaneously Bran is king. This is a big problem, and this is the big problem with all of the original R plus L equals J like fanatics from the beginning, is that clearly the story is telling us that monarchy sucks. And then at the same time, and they're like, and that, but at the same time, these people are like, but John's going to save the world and John's going to be like the good king. And you're like, really? He'll be the one good tyrant, he's going to be the one good tyrant that's going to save tyranny. And so, fundamentally, like, I do think that John sitting the throne is one of the least George things ever, and yet that was pushed for so long by people. Like, it was just almost like laughable that all people talked about was like, this Aragorn principle of John sitting the throne in the end, of he's going to save the world. Yeah, there could be a time skip. Like, there's some sort of time skip, like the war has been going 5 years, and then after the war finished, they finally have a great council or something at the end. Like, you just kind of, there's skirmishes for a long time, and then they flash forward to like, well, we've been fighting for 5 years and there's been no king. But yeah. But that's the electable king thing is always the thing. Like, I mean, they do address that in the show that Bran isn't going to father any kids, so there's no succession and there's no stability. And so in that sense, like, having a temporary, like, people should be thinking, oh, when's this kid going to die? And then what should we do? We should start preparing for when this is going to happen. And I guess this reminds me of Fire and Blood, where Rhaenyra is heir, but everybody's preparing for war, thinking that, like, oh, well, we know it's going to happen. Like, we know war is going to happen when Bran is going to die. So, in a sense, you really need something more revolutionary than even probably the show had, where, I mean, electable king, I guess maybe that would be fine, but it'll take Bran 5 years to get south to King's Landing. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. Like, okay, so try to even getting Bran to King's Landing or close to it by book's end. You've got to have him escape in Winds of Winter. We need to have him escape the pit, and then get at least as far as the wall, maybe further, like by the end of the Winds of Winter. You kind of need him to get out of the cave and get back to the wall. And then from there, I suppose he can jump a ship. He can hop a ship at Eastwatch. And then that'll take, at least a third or of the final book. And then he gets down to King's Landing or something, but he needs to get into the action. Sansa Arya's kids would be next in line. I mean, after Bran, they would put Bran first, right? Because male succession comes before. Like, there's not equal sex. There's not equal sex succession. So, like, Jon dies. They'd be like, who's next in the line? And they're like, okay, we got no Targaryens left. So we go to the Stark side. And then we say, okay, Jon, he had no full siblings. So you go to his half siblings, I suppose, for the case. And then Bran is the eldest male because Robb is dead. So I suppose you could make an argument that Bran is Jon's heir.